Hey everyone, how's everyone doing? Today we're going to discuss some names that stood out and others that didn't have much success with the Las Vegas Raiders during this year of change. During the offseason, we talked about several possibilities for athletes the team could select in the draft and potential signings. However, today's focus will be on players who were already part of the organization last season, considering all the changes made by Pete Carroll and John Spytek. Both on the offensive and defensive sides, I'll share who the biggest winners are and who ended up being disadvantaged. This analysis is relevant as the Raiders' off-season practices begin today, on the 8th of April, and with the return of football so close, it's impossible not to feel a huge sense of anticipation about what this new management can achieve. If you're excited too, your support is welcome. Also, if you're looking for insights and updates on the Raiders' offseason, it's essential to stay tuned for news, as it's easy to discuss topics like Jack Jones' departure. To be honest, we could have pointed out Jack Jones as one of the disadvantaged players, considering the high expectations surrounding that decision before the NFL draft. What surprised me, however, was the reaction from some fans recently, who seemed perplexed by Jones' exit, even though I had discussed this topic frequently. If this is what you're looking for, it's essential to follow the analysis. The plan is simple. I'll start by talking about the winners on offense, then I'll cover the disadvantaged players on offense, followed by the winners on defense, and finally, the ones who came out disadvantaged on the defensive side. Starting off, Trey Tucker appears in the 5th position on the list of winners this offseason, which is important to highlight since he now occupies the position of second wide receiver, just behind Jacoby Myers. Another name worth mentioning is Kyle Phillips, who was the first selection under Chip Kelly's leadership. With Geno Smith taking on a quarterback role, Tucker is facing a great opportunity. It's crucial for the team to consider selecting a wide receiver, ideally securing at least one or two. The lack of an additional receiver during NFL free agency strengthens the idea that Trey Tucker is truly one of the winners. Moving to the 4th spot on this list, we find Jordan Meredith. The team chose to bring Meredith back this offseason, and he stands out as a clear winner. Not only was he re-signed, but he's also competing for the interior offensive line spot alongside Alex Kappa, JPJ, Dylan Parham, and Jordan Meredith. The possibility of starting as a left guard boosts his position as a winner, especially considering that he received one of the best PFF ratings among NFL offensive linemen. Additionally, it's important to note Meredith due to the uncertainty surrounding Dylan Parham's situation. If the team decides to start Alex Kappa, it doesn't guarantee Parham's immediate spot as the starting left guard. This coaching staff values Meredith's contributions and decided to retain him. Now, in 3rd place among the winners, we have DJ Glaze. Although this coaching staff didn't pick Glaze in the draft, he showed good potential and deserves to be closely watched. Parham plays the role of starting left guard, and this management clearly recognizes the importance Meredith brings to the team, making his retention a priority. Moving on to the 3rd name on our highlight list, we find DJ Glaze. It's worth noting that this management didn't select him in the draft, but he was certainly on their radar during the last offseason. DJ made a visit to one of the top 30 teams, which could indicate that if the season were to start now, he'd be positioned as the right tackle. The management has expressed their appreciation for offensive linemen, and even though Glaze wasn't drafted, no other right tackle had been signed by the team. While the Raiders may still consider selecting someone, DJ Glaze remains a valuable player for the team. The focus on the trenches is a distinctive feature of this management, and keeping DJ as a starter only reinforces his importance as a winner. Moving to 2nd place on our list, we have Brock Bowers as a tight end. The reason why Bowers stands out as a winner is clear. He has Geno Smith as his quarterback. Geno represents an upgrade over Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. Considering how impressive Bowers was last season, having Chip Kelly as a coach and a more skilled quarterback is a huge advantage. Furthermore, last season, among the 36 tight ends that met the required target rate for this stat, Bowers ranked 29th in terms of accuracy. What's intriguing is that Geno Smith was identified as the most accurate quarterback in the NFL over the last 4 years. Given Bowers' impressive numbers last season, despite his ranking, it's exciting to imagine his performance with a quarterback capable of making more precise throws. Brock Bowers isn't just about to shine. He's already emerging as an exceptional athlete. Now, I invite you to leave your thoughts in the comments section. Today's pinned comment will ask who you consider the biggest winner on the Raiders' offense this offseason. And just a heads up, I might ask this same question again soon. Brock Bowers isn't just on his way to shine. He's already standing out as a notable player. Now, I want you to visit the comment section and answer the question that will be pinned in today's video. Who is the biggest winner on the Las Vegas Raiders offense this offseason? A little spoiler, I'll be asking the same question soon, but focusing on defense. For now, let's stick to offense. My answer will come right after a brief pause. The biggest winner on the Raiders offense is probably not a surprise, but it's the wide receiver who has the chance to become the number one receiver on a team with a quarterback like Geno Smith, who fits his playing style perfectly. Furthermore, he's in his final year of his contract and doesn't have financial guarantees. If I were in the team's position, I would try to negotiate a contract extension before the season starts. But if that doesn't happen, we have a quarterback in his final contract year, and he didn't drop a single pass last season. Can we just pause for a moment to recognize how impressive it is that he didn't drop a single ball last season? Also, he ranked 63rd out of 103 players in terms of precise target rates for wide receivers, considering his quarterback's accuracy. Looking at a player like Jackson Smith-Njigba, it's easy to imagine that he could have an exceptional season. I don't know if he'll match last season's number of receptions, but I believe it'll be around 70 receptions, and I expect him to come close to 1,000 yards. However, I think he can reach between 8 and 9 touchdowns for the Las Vegas Raiders. Next, we'll discuss some of the players who underperformed this offseason on the offensive side, but I'll try to focus more on the winners and breeze through the losers, since this is the offseason, after all. Let's focus mostly on those who stood out, quickly addressing some who didn't perform as well, given that we're in a transition phase. Before we move on, it's worth highlighting the benefits of using a reliable platform when looking for tickets for events. While football season is still far off, this time of year excites me due to the NBA and NHL playoffs. And we can't forget the return of baseball. For those who want to watch their favorite sports competitions, this tool reduces the stress of buying tickets. I've been using this service for years and can attest to its efficiency for Major League Baseball, NBA, and even NFL preseason games. I remember a memorable experience when I attended a show, which made me realize how much I'd love to watch a playoff hockey game in Las Vegas. I admit that even though I'm not a huge hockey fan, the playoff atmosphere really grabs my attention. Watching on TV is fun, but being a live event is an electrifying experience, almost as intense as a pre-game gathering. The atmosphere is unique, and even if you don't remember the final result, the memories created will last. Another feature I value in this platform is the chance to find good deals, especially last-minute tickets. Prices vary, making it easier to find a ticket that fits your budget. One of the features I like most is the ability to save significantly on last-minute tickets for various events, be it sports, concerts, or theater. This tool simplifies the process by quickly showing the best offers available. Now, let's shift our focus to some of the offensive obstacles certain teams are facing. Let's look at a few players who might be considered underperformers in the offensive context of this season for the Las Vegas team. In third place, we have an athlete who, to be honest, I'm not sure qualifies as a loser, but I'm mentioning him here because I expected a specific player to be a starter on the offensive line this season. It was easy to imagine that another athlete might act as center, while this player could play as left or right guard. However, with recent information, it doesn't seem like that situation is clear. I understand the organization always aims to encourage competition among players, but they also signed a player recommended by one of the executives. Thus, this player doesn't have guarantees of being a starter, as he wasn't chosen by the current management and is in the final year of his contract. I just want to point out that he might end up being considered a loser in this transition phase. Moving on to second place, we have another offensive lineman. I've respected him for some time, though he had a pretty tough season finale. However, I'm afraid he might be sidelined in this context. This is something I mentioned a few weeks after several names from this line were brought up, and frankly, his name hasn't been mentioned at all. I think he's among the last on the offensive line right now. Considering the team will likely look to select at least one player for this position. If they choose an offensive lineman, this could complicate his situation. If that happens, it's likely they won't keep him over others who are signed. He'll have to fight hard this year and, by the looks of it, is already at a disadvantage compared to the competition. Let's move on to the first spot. If he's in this position, Munford won't be kept over Alex Kappa, Jordan Meredith, or Dylan Parham. Munford will have to fight with all his might this year, and it seems he's already at a disadvantage competing with DJ Glaze. Now, let's talk about the biggest disappointment, which is Zamir White. Oh, Zamir, I really wish things had turned out more favorably. How I would describe Zamir is similar to how I would characterize Jack Jones. There were times when you thought this kid really has talent, but then you remember his inconsistency and struggles holding onto the ball. With new management in the team, it's hard to understand why Zeus would be kept. Another point I found interesting is that if you ask me about the running backs on this team that could be leaving, I'd mention both Zamir White and Dylan Lai. However, Lowe had a visit with one of the top 30 teams last season. Therefore, if I were in this organization and was weighing between Zamir White and Dylan Lowe, I'd think they'd opt to keep Lowe due to that visit. Moreover, the team signed Raheem Mostert and is planning to select one or two running backs this upcoming season, due to Zamir White's disappointing performance last year. The team had the weakest rushing attack in the league last season, and Zamir was the starter for a short period, which justifies his ranking as a major disappointment. Now, changing topics, let's analyze some of the offseason winners on defense, and then discuss some of the losers. I'll start by highlighting linebacker Amari Gaynor. I believe Gaynor is making several smart decisions this offseason, as he's connecting with the right people. One of the people he's been frequently seen with is Max Crosby. Associations with the right people, especially key figures in this organization, don't go unnoticed. The linebacker group is also relatively fragile. I'm not stating anything beyond the truth. It's important to note that the most relevant figures in this organization are indeed paying attention to this situation. It's worth mentioning that the linebacker room seems a bit weakened. I'm not making claims that deviate from reality. The team signed a Landon Roberts and Devin White. There's an argument that White could play as a weak side linebacker, but I strongly disagree with that idea. Looking at the skills of Devin White and Landon Roberts, I'd argue they're more comparable to players like Tommy Eichenberg or Kai Mala. Considering the external linebacker group, Amari Burney and Amari Gaynor come to mind. In my analysis, Gaynor stands out as the top linebacker, while Burney presents superior athleticism, possibly giving him more opportunities on special teams. That's why I predict Amari Gaynor will be a name to watch this offseason, especially during preseason. Moving on to the next player, we have Trey Taylor as free safety. This might surprise some, as he hasn't been in the spotlight much, but the team clearly needs a free safety. Honestly, I'm not sure I'd strictly define Trey Taylor as a free safety or a strong safety. He seems to be a combination of both. He was one of the winners of the Jim Thorpe Award and had a visit among the top 30 with another team last season, which suggests he fits the culture the organization is trying to cultivate. The organization is looking for players who come in early and stay late, those who put in the time and effort needed to stand out as true professionals. Trey Taylor embodies these qualities and has good connections within the league. Given some of the decisions the team has made or failed to make, this certainly benefits Trey Taylor. Now, I'll talk about the next player, John Liu, as defensive tackle. Many people I've spoken to believe Liu could be the starting defensive tackle alongside Christian Wilkins if the season started today. However, I'm not entirely convinced by that. I still lean toward Adam Butler taking that role due to the 3-year contract he was given. Liu, playing as a defensive tackle, is a player that many consider having the potential to be a starter alongside Christian Wilkins if the season were to start today. However, I don't share that view, as I still perceive Adam Butler as the top choice, especially because of the 3-year contract he was given. Additionally, the Raiders acted wisely by offering extended contracts to players they consider indispensable. In my view, Liu would probably be best suited as the third defensive tackle. It's worth noting that he had a visit among the top 30 with the Buccaneers, which might suggest some affinity in this regard. The signing of Lecky Fo, who came to replace John Jenkins, shows the organization has much more confidence in John Ulu than many NFL analysts might think. This confidence places him as the third in the hierarchy. Now, when discussing second place, this choice may surprise some, and I'm referring to Demarion Richardson as a standout on defense. Although he wasn't selected by this management, if someone told me that this quarterback has the stature and athletic ability of Cameron Richardson, I would say he aligns perfectly with what Pete Carroll is looking for. The Raiders chose to release Nate Hobbs and cut Jack Jones, highlighting a strong belief in their secondary. They also signed Eric Stokes, which reinforces the faith they have in Jaker and Bennett, as well as in Darn Holmes. Furthermore, this reflects a certain hope in Richardson, who is an extremely skilled athlete. I'm hoping Bennett's growth from his rookie year to his second year mirrors what Richardson might experience. Even if that doesn't happen, he'll still be a good athlete, and in the worst-case scenario, he could play as a gunner on the special teams. I'm curious to know who you think is the biggest defensive standout for the Raiders this offseason, and my answer may surprise some of you, as many of the names I've mentioned have sparked debates. In this discussion, I revisit the question of who stands out as the biggest winner for the Raiders defensively this offseason. My choice might surprise some, as many of the names mentioned so far are relevant. The player I'm highlighting right now as the top winner on defense is Maxx Crosby. It's quite clear that Maxx Crosby deserves this title, as he recently signed a significant contract extension, making him the highest-paid non-quarterback defender in the league. This change is crucial, as it also places him in a strong relationship with Pete Carroll and John Schneider in the long term. When Crosby was asked about his goals for this offseason, he expressed the desire to maintain the cohesion of the defensive line, specifically mentioning players like Malcolm Kuntz and Adam Butler. He identified the challenges of facing a new defensive line every year and building good relationships with new teammates. In response, the Raiders took proactive measures, such as increasing Patrick Graham's salary, which certainly recognizes Crosby's influence. They also prioritized retaining Rob Leonard, again because of Maxx Crosby's contributions. Many of the key players who stayed on the team were those Max expressed a desire to keep. Therefore, if you're genuinely interested in who stands out as the biggest winner on defense for the Raiders, it's undeniably Maxx Crosby, number 98, and he truly deserves that recognition. Now, let's shift focus to analyze some athletes who may not have stood out as much on defense, which turned out to be a more challenging task than I initially thought. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Is the unthinkable about to happen? The face of the Kansas City Chiefs, the architect of dynasties, Patrick Mahomes, wearing a Raiders jersey? That's the headline rocking the NFL world this week, as rumblings from league insiders suggest that the Las Vegas Raiders are aggressively pursuing a move that would alter the balance of power in the AFC forever. While the notion sounds like fantasy to some, sources close to the situation insist that early discussions have taken place, and that Mahomes, who has done it all in Kansas City, may be open to a seismic career shift. The idea alone sends shockwaves through the league. Mahomes, a generational quarterback with 3 Super Bowl titles and a resume already worthy of Canton, has been the embodiment of the Chiefs' golden era since 2018. But after 8 years of dominance, a rumored rift between the franchise quarterback and the Chiefs' front office, stemming from long-term personnel frustrations and an evolving offensive identity, has allegedly opened the door for conversations few would have ever entertained. Why the Raiders? According to reports, Vegas is looking for more than just relevance. They want a revolution. With head coach Antonio Pierce reportedly obsessed with the idea of acquiring a true franchise QB and new ownership signaling a willingness to spend at historic levels, Mahomes could be lured by a fresh challenge in a new market that promises both offensive freedom and massive off-field influence. For Mahomes, Las Vegas represents more than just a franchise. It's a stage. Of course, the logistics would be staggering. Mahomes' current contract, one of the richest in sports history, would require unprecedented restructuring or a blockbuster trade that sends multiple first-round picks and potentially a Pro Bowl player to Kansas City. But with the Raiders armed with cap space, draft capital, and a burning desire to turn the AFC West on its head. Insiders say they're preparing to test just how much the Chiefs are willing to say no. Whether this becomes the most sensational trade in NFL history or just another wild off-season rumor, one thing is certain. The league is watching, and so is Patrick Mahomes. Because in a city built on big bets, this could be the boldest one yet. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.